Greetings YouTube, I hope you're doing well everyone. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about home birth. So the thing with that is it legal basically? That's what I'm saying. The answer is yes, it is legal in the UK. Specifically I'd like to talk more on unassisted home births. Is unassisted home birthing legal? And yes, again, actually, it is legal. However, will it be tolerated by the state? Well, that's a different matter entirely. Just because something isn't illegal doesn't mean that society will allow you to do it. Or just because something is legal, society won't allow you to do it. Now, the thing is with home birthing is you can't trust a midwife to agree to that. The only way you could possibly get a midwife to go along with that is perhaps by deceit. That could be one way, by pretending that you didn't know the baby was coming. It's come very quickly. If you want that alone time, and I can tell you it is nice not to have someone else there, because I've obviously been through that. I delivered my own daughter. A lot of people say, you're a hero. Not really. The mother is more the hero than what I would be. It was stressful, I will give you that. At times it was a bit worrying, but overall I think I've done an alright job. I mean, you can read about complications online. Obviously there's all sorts that can go wrong. The key is to know what to do if that happens. There's been some rare cases of like the umbilical cord getting tied around a kid's neck. There's also been cases of the placenta actually coming first. And I would say that not to worry too much about that, because there's stuff that can go wrong in hospitals as well. For example, forcing out a child, forcing contractions is something that is very common in the UK with midwives. They will take a woman and they will say, here, we think this baby's been in too long, when in fact some women, particularly my ex-partner, pregnant for about 9.5 months, not 9 months. Hope was born very, very well. She was bigger than the usual baby. And probably if we had have gone with the regular system that most people go with, they probably would have forced that baby out of her. So do I have regrets about it? Not in the sense of the actual day, because the actual day of the home birth went very well. She was born beautifully healthy, unlike my ex's first kid, who isn't my kid, who was born unhealthy because they'd swallowed, because they'd been brought on because of these swallowed fecal matter, but she hadn't been brought. She'd been brought on by these forced contractions, so they injected her. So basically, yeah, that's the sort of thing that can happen. And they also gave her like tons of pain relief, like epidural or whatever. So that is a danger, because you cannot actually feel. You have to. I know it's horrible, but ideally you do want to feel what you're putting, because if you can't feel anything, you can hurt yourself more than what is necessary. And that is exactly what happened with her first child. She needed a lot of stitching. They told her that she'd damaged herself. But with my daughter, she actually she done well with her. She really did actually she was up walking around, she was fine. One thing you may not be aware of, if you are having a sort of clandestine birth, and I would say that if you do want an unmonitored free home birth, there's either two ways you can do it. You can either not tell the midwives from the start because they won't be happy. If you've got friends and family, don't trust them either necessarily, because they may not respect your decision not to go through the official route. I mean, there's going to be critics out there saying that I'm irresponsible, but here's the thing, this has happened for many more years before hospitals were around. This was a normal thing. We didn't need people with the title of midwife or the title of doula or doctor. People were people, and you can learn how to be a midwife for your partner. There is, I believe, fairly adequate information. Of course, nothing can prepare you for real life. One particular thing which I didn't realise is quite the amount of blood that there is involved in delivering your own baby. There is quite a lot of blood, more than what I would have suspected. So if you are squeamish and you're thinking of doing that, then definitely don't. I know a lot of women probably themselves who've had babies don't actually realise how much blood there is, because nurses and that will clear it up, they'll deal with it then and there, and the woman is unaware. Also, another big myth about lying on the back being the most healthy way to have a baby. It's complete bullshit. Actually, this theory, I can't remember the name of the bloke, I think it was Louis something, but he was Belgium anyway, like a Belgian king, and he was the guy who come up with the laying on the back because he wanted to sit there on his chair and watch the baby come into the world. Before that, and if you look at a lot of tribes around the world, squatting is way more common a way to have a child. And in fact, Amy actually gave birth standing up, which makes sense, really, because of the gravity. Of course, when the baby's crowning and that, the head is at one of the biggest parts, and once my daughter's head was out, it didn't take long for everything else, of course the shoulders and that, soon after. But that is obviously the hardest. That is the hardest part. And then she came out quite quickly after that, and I caught her in my hands. So I was really the first one to see her, rather than Amy, and rather than any strangers either, because nowadays that someone has to have a way to do anything. Now, I believe that's right. You can see from some of my other content, excuse me, you can see from some of my other content that I believe in a voluntary democratic society, so I believe that people should have choices, and people shouldn't be doing stuff for wage, but people should be doing stuff for other people and for the community. That's what I believe. So home birthing, it is legal, but don't expect to necessarily get away with it, because there's a lot of bigoted midwives and health visitors. There's people like that who are very against anything that's controversial, anything that is different from what they want. You raise them any different way to what they consider normal, or not even normal, but what they consider their view. Anything different from their view is wrong. They actually think they have the audacity to come in there and tell you in your home that you are basically you're raising them wrong. And it is a pure audacity, really, when you think that I am, you know, I've said this before, again, I'm not perfect, but I don't want to blow my own trumpet, you know what I mean? Like, but I am a hell of a lot more moral than I know a lot of people are out there. So yeah, do not trust the UK midwives. Do not trust health visitors either, especially when it comes to anything regarding mental health. Do not say, if you have depression, put on your strong face. These people are not your friends, they're there to monitor you. So remember that around health visitors and around midwives, okay? And remember that the next tier up from them is the social workers, and when they get involved, you better pray they don't get involved. But when and if they do, that's when you're in trouble, or quite likely in trouble, and could be in trouble for a good few years of monitoring and whatever else. So my advice would be, if you want to do it, make sure you've read up about things that can go wrong. Possibly seek an unofficial doula. I did know someone who might be able to do that sort of thing for you. If you want a contact for a home birth, you can contact me and I can give you a doula who you can speak to and who is trustworthy, and who is part of this genuine movement to give more freedom to parents regarding choices for their children, because I do believe that responsibility should be in the hands of the parent and not in a third party's hands, which is what seems to be the common belief around the UK and Ireland. So I think what's important is empowering parents, putting power back in the hands of regular people and communities, and giving them the skills and the ability to look after themselves and to bring a child into the world, to educate them and everything else that comes along with that. So that's my views on home birthing. Not for the faint-hearted where the blood is concerned. Beautiful, more relaxed experience in a hospital for definite. I would definitely say that. An intimate moment when you're there with your partner, and where you have the privilege and the honour of bringing a new life into the world. Which you don't get in a hospital setting where there's 101 strangers around. It's a completely unnatural setting. Amy actually gave birth with the French doors open, so you had the rain outside. It was very serene, especially for the beginning, and then it got more intense later on. But it wasn't a long birth, but it was her second birth. So the first birth can be a bit harder. But once one birth has gone right, the chances are there'll be more going that way in the future. In terms of cesareans, I would say that, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't have another kid, although I've heard that. I don't believe that's true, because I've looked at it. However, for a natural birth, however, I do think there is maybe more risk involved. But again, I would urge you to do your own research, and please, if anything is wrong, correct me. I have no problem with that. Constructive criticism. Just if you're planning to do this, if you're in Ireland, you need a doula, you can contact me. And just good luck, if this is what you're planning to do. And never trust health visitors, never trust midwives, because they are they're not your friends, basically. They are there from the interest of the government, for the interest of themselves, and essentially they are a stranger in your community. Trust who you know you can trust in your family, but these people, you know, they could be anyone. They could have any views, and they're not screened for that. And in fact, I would definitely say, well, don't trust them. Basically, is what I'm saying. I think that's all I can say about that anyway. So I will bid you farewell, and yeah. Thank you everyone again. My regular subscribers, anyone who hadn't seen me before, thank you. Peace out.